Welcome to Sexuality and Truth with Phil Lees, the podcast where we uncover the realities of youth, sex, and the impact of cultural norms. Today, we conclude our powerful series, The Silent Language of Life, with a sobering and essential conversation. Episode 6, Disrupting the Design, When the Body's Language is Ignored. After exploring the beauty and intention behind our reproductive design, we now turn to an uncomfortable but necessary question. What happens when we ignore the message our bodies were created to speak? Join us as we uncover the biological, emotional, and spiritual consequences of silencing the truth built into our design, and how we can begin the journey of restoration. Now, let's get into today's episode.
The human body sends us around 11 million signals every second through our nervous system. Yet somehow we've gotten really good at ignoring some of its most important messages.
You know, that's such a striking way to think about it. We're literally drowning in biological signals while simultaneously turning a deaf ear to some fundamental aspects of our design.
And what's fascinating is how this plays out specifically in reproductive health. Recent studies show a 50% decline in sperm counts globally over the past 40 years, yet we rarely talk about what that's telling us.
That statistic is honestly shocking. Do we have any clear understanding of what's driving such a dramatic change?
Well, it's a complex web of factors. Environmental toxins play a role, but there's also mounting evidence that our lifestyle choices and how we approach sexuality have profound biological consequences.
It reminds me of that research from the National Institutes of Health, showing how hormonal disruption isn't just affecting fertility. It's impacting everything from mood to metabolism.
Exactly right. And here's what's really interesting. When we look at societies throughout history, those that maintained alignment with biological design typically showed better health outcomes across multiple generations.
That makes me think about how modern culture often presents this false dichotomy between progress and biological reality, as if we have to choose one or the other.
You know what's really telling? A recent survey showed that 67% of young adults report feeling disconnected from their bodies in some way. That's not just a personal issue, it's a public health crisis.
Oh wow, that's a staggering number. And I imagine it has ripple effects we're only beginning to understand.
Absolutely right. And speaking of ripple effects, let's talk about the emotional impact. Studies show a direct correlation between ignoring biological signals and increased rates of anxiety and depression.
That's fascinating because it suggests our emotional well-being is more tied to our biological alignment than we often acknowledge.
Right? And here's where it gets really interesting. The latest research in psychoneuroimmunology shows that when we live in opposition to our biological design, it actually triggers a stress response at the cellular level.
So you're saying our bodies are literally keeping score of how well we're listening to them?
Precisely. And what's even more compelling is how quickly the body can begin healing when we start paying attention again. Studies show measurable improvements in hormonal balance within just 3 months of lifestyle changes.
That's actually really hopeful. It suggests that even if we've been ignoring these signals for years, it's never too late to start listening.
Before we close, let's take a moment to summarize what we've covered today.
We began by acknowledging that the human body has a purpose-filled design, one that speaks silently through its function and structure. But when we ignore that design, we begin to see real consequences.
We talked about the biological effects, infertility, rising health risks, and emotional pain tied to sexual confusion and brokenness.
We also explored the emotional and spiritual toll, the disconnection, the loss of identity, and the ache that comes from living out of sync with the truth.
But we didn't stop there, because this isn't just a warning, it's an invitation.
An invitation to return, to recognize that our bodies were created with wisdom and purpose, that restoration is possible, that life is still designed with purpose, and that the truth is still speaking, even if the world isn't listening.
So as we end this series, here's our encouragement to you. Don't silence the message your body was created to speak. Don't be afraid to return to the design that brings life, healing, and hope.
Because the silent language of life is still being spoken, and it's waiting for us to respond.
That's it for today's episode of Sexuality and Truth with Phil Lees. We hope this conversation helped you understand not only what's at stake when we ignore our biological design, but also the incredible hope available when we choose to listen again. Throughout this series, we've seen that the human body is not random. It is intentional. It carries a message of purpose, of life, and of identity, a silent language written by our Creator. Be sure to check the description of this episode for the link to our full podcast series at peaceontario.com/podcast, where you can revisit all 6 episodes of The Silent Language of Life. If this series has impacted you, please share it with parents, youth leaders, educators, and anyone searching for clarity in today's cultural confusion. Thank you for joining us in rediscovering the wisdom written into our design. Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep listening to the silent language of life.